I always knew I was adopted. My parents, Nancy and Derek Thompson, never hid it from me. And honestly, I didn't mind. I grew up in a small but cozy house in the suburbs. We weren't poor, but we weren't well off either. Hand-me-downs, garage sale bikes, and birthday parties at home were my norm. I thought that was life, normal. Then, everything changed when I turned 19. It started with a letter, not an email or a text. A real old-fashioned letter. Nancy handed it to me with a strange look on her face, like she knew it was a ticking time bomb. "Read it when you're alone," she said softly, as if the paper might explode. Inside was a simple message. "It's time we meet. Your mother." There was a business card attached with the name Evelyn Drake and a number. The name sent a shiver down my spine, like hearing a melody from a dream you can't quite remember. Something told me this was big, but I had no idea just how big. After hours of internal debate, I called the number. Evelyn's voice was smooth, calm, and oddly familiar. "I've been waiting to hear from you, sweetheart," she said. "Let's meet tomorrow. I'll have my driver pick you up." Driver? The word felt so out of place in my world. The next day, a black luxury car pulled up in front of my house, making the neighbors peek through their windows. The driver didn't say much as he drove me into the heart of the city, where towering skyscrapers gleamed under the morning sun. We stopped in front of a hotel that looked more like a palace. All marble floors and chandeliers. I was led to a private lounge, and that's where I saw her, Evelyn Drake. She looked like she had stepped out of a magazine. Sleek black dress, diamonds on her wrist, and eyes sharp as glass. "Hello, dear," she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I was too stunned to speak. She slid a file across the table toward me. "I know this is a lot to take in, but I want you to see the truth." Inside the file were legal papers, proof that I was her daughter, photos of me as a baby, a DNA test. My head swam. "You gave me up," I whispered, feeling a mix of anger and confusion. "I did," Evelyn admitted, her expression softening for the first time. "But I had no choice. It was for your safety. There are complicated things in our world, but now it's time for you to come home." I blinked at her, trying to wrap my mind around the word home. Evelyn leaned closer. "You're a Drake, my love. And Drakes, well, we have a legacy." She paused dramatically. "I'm one of the wealthiest women in the country, and everything I have will one day belong to you." I moved in with Evelyn the next week. Her estate was beyond anything I could imagine. A sprawling mansion surrounded by manicured gardens, complete with fountains and statues. I had my own room, bigger than my parents' entire house, with a walk-in closet filled with clothes I didn't even know how to wear. It was intoxicating. Dinners with personal chefs, parties where everyone wore designer suits and dresses. Evelyn introduced me to a world I didn't know existed. Suddenly, I was flying on private jets, attending galas, and rubbing shoulders with celebrities and politicians. I was no longer just Emily Thompson. I was Emily Drake. But with the glitz and glamour came unease. For one, Evelyn kept a tight leash on me. She demanded I attend etiquette lessons, meet with tutors, and even start training to manage the family's business empire. If I wanted to spend time with my old friends, or even visit Nancy and Derek, Evelyn found an excuse to keep me away. "I just want to protect you," she said with a smile that felt too perfect, too rehearsed. "You'll understand soon enough." Despite the luxury, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Evelyn's staff seemed to walk on eggshells around her, and she always had a way of knowing where I was and who I was talking to. It was as if every step I took was being monitored. I was exploring the east wing of the mansion, an area Evelyn had told me was off limits. When I stumbled upon a locked door, curiosity got the best of me, and after some searching, I found a key hidden under a nearby vase. Inside the room, I found something that stopped my heart. It was a nursery. The room was perfectly preserved, as if waiting for a baby that never arrived. Toys sat untouched, a crib stood empty, and on the walls were photos of me as a baby, photos I'd never seen before. But there was something even stranger. Tucked in the corner of the room was a birth certificate. My name was listed as Emily Drake, but the birth date didn't match. According to this document, I was born 2 years later than what I'd always believed. I wasn't who I thought I was, and something told me Evelyn wasn't telling me the whole story. I confronted Evelyn that night. She was sitting in her grand study, sipping wine as if nothing was out of the ordinary. "I found the nursery," I said, holding the birth certificate like a weapon. "What the hell is going on?" Her smile faltered for a split second, just enough for me to know I was right. "You were never supposed to find that," she said quietly, setting down her glass. "Why does the birth date not match? Who am I really?" Evelyn sighed, a weary look crossing her face. I suppose there's no point in hiding it now. And then came the truth that shattered everything. You weren't adopted from an agency, Emily, Evelyn said. You were kidnapped. I felt the ground drop beneath me. You see, she continued, I had 2 children, twins, a boy and a girl. But when they were born, someone stole my daughter from me. I searched for years, spent fortunes trying to find you. And then I did. She leaned closer, her eyes glinting with something dark. But the people who raised you, they weren't just random strangers. They were the ones who took you from me. My heart raced as the pieces began to fall into place. Nancy and Derek, the only parents I'd ever known, had kidnapped me? No, I whispered, shaking my head. They wouldn't. They did, Evelyn said coldly. And they raised you as their own to keep you from me. It was too much. My world was crumbling, and I didn't know who to trust. Evelyn pressed a hand to my cheek, her voice softening. You belong with me, Emily. You always have. But something didn't sit right. If Evelyn was telling the truth, why hadn't Nancy and Derek said anything? Why had they raised me with love and care, without a hint of the sinister intentions Evelyn described? The next day, I secretly visited Nancy and Derek, desperate for answers. What they told me changed everything, again. Nancy and Derek confessed that they hadn't kidnapped me. They had saved me. Evelyn's late husband had been a powerful man with dangerous enemies. When Evelyn got involved in criminal activities, her husband tried to escape with their daughter, me. But Evelyn found out and killed him. Nancy and Derek had been close friends of my biological father. Knowing what Evelyn was capable of, they went into hiding and raised me as their own to protect me. I know this is hard to believe, Nancy said, tears in her eyes. But we only wanted to keep you safe. I felt like I was living in a nightmare. Evelyn had lied to me, used me, and now I was trapped in her web. That night, I made a choice. I packed a bag and left Evelyn's mansion for good, disappearing into the night. I went back to Nancy and Derek, the only real family I ever had. It's been 6 months since I left Evelyn's world behind. She tried to find me, of course. Sent lawyers, investigators, even the police. But I stayed off the grid, determined to reclaim my life. In the end, wealth and power mean nothing without love. And I learned that the hard way. Evelyn Drake may have given birth to me, but she lost the right to be my mother a long time ago. Some legacies aren't worth inheriting. Thanks so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this story. And share your ideas for future videos. See you in the next video.